This next portion of this video will demonstrate actual operation of the PDI. You've seen how the PDI works. Like all detectors, it sounds off whenever a prohibited metallic object passes through it. It is these pinpoint lights that alert you to the exact location of the metal on the individual passing through the detector. You can see how this will make any necessary hand scanning far simpler. Pay close attention to these simple, basic instructions on how to use this detector to help ensure the security of the facility you're employed to protect. Here are the PDI's touchpad controls. You will also note the key lock that protects the security of the touchpad settings. It has two settings, enable and disable. This silver key can be used by authorized personnel to enable or disable the detector's touchpads. Of course, operators should use the touchpads only as instructed by supervisors. When the operate touchpad is pressed, the PDI activates all circuits and carries out automatically a complete self-diagnostic program, which is reported on the display at the same time it automatically tunes itself to its surroundings. When this is completed, the ready light appears and the word operate is displayed. This indicates that the unit is ready for screening. The green walk symbol on the entry side of the PDI will also be illuminated when the detector is ready to accept an individual. A special feature of the PDI is an infrared sensor across the archway, designed to enhance detection capabilities. It improves analysis of three-dimensional detection by correlating signal responses with actual physical movement within the archway. This increases throughput by minimizing false alarms. When you press the counter pad, the patron count will be reported on the display, along with the number of alarms that have occurred since the counter has been reset, and the percentage of alarms in relation to the number of individuals who have passed through the archway during this period of time. Pressing and holding the counter touchpad for 5 seconds causes the counter and alarm count to return to 0. Whenever anything other than the current traffic count is being displayed, pressing this touchpad causes the count to appear. You might be instructed to use this volume pad. Whenever it is pressed, the volume level of the unit's audible alarm is displayed on the panel, and that volume level can be heard. Then, by using these plus and minus touchpads, the volume can be raised or lowered. When the program touchpad is pressed, the settings that control the program and base sensitivity levels of the detector will appear. And finally, this touchpad, access, will be used by authorized personnel to make additional adjustments. The ready light indicates that the PDI is operating. This light and the green walk symbol must always be illuminated before anyone is permitted to enter the archway for inspection. The red wait symbol will appear, and the ready light will blink whenever a person breaks the infrared beam across the archway. This blinking light and the wait symbol tell you that the detector is not ready to accept any traffic. Now, let's discuss what happens when a person passing through the PDI triggers an alarm.
Please come through.
When an alarm sounds and the pinpoint lights illuminate, the person passing through the detector must either be asked to walk through the unit again after removing metal objects, or be inspected with a hand scanning unit to discover the offending metallic objects.
Come on through.
If an alarm sounds and pinpoint lights appear when a person passes through the detector again, after that person has removed metal objects, full hand scanning is mandatory, with special emphasis given the pinpointed area. These pinpoint lights will alert you to the area of the individual that requires searching and make it easier to find the metal that caused the alarm.
Come on through.
Remember, when lights on one side of the PDI illuminate, the metal is on that side of the person in the horizontal area where the lights are located. Lights on both sides indicate target balance. This means that the metallic object may be located in the center of the person, once again in the exact horizontal area of the lights, or that there may also be targets on both sides of the individual. This is another reason that the source of metal that sounded the alarm must always be found before a person can be allowed to proceed. Take nothing for granted, and be sure to locate the metallic source that caused any alarm. If it's in the zone where pinpoint lights illuminated, don't let a person merely point to a belt buckle or a piece of jewelry and try to walk on without being scanned. They must permit you to discover the source of the alarm. If a concealed weapon is ever discovered, the operator should follow instructions given by authorized personnel. So, if an alarm sounds for any reason while a person is passing through the detector, with the pinpoint lights giving the location of suspected targets, that person must either be asked to walk through the unit again after removing metal objects, or be inspected with a hand scanner to discover the offending metallic objects. There will be no exceptions. Operators have these basic responsibilities. Make sure the ready light is illuminated. Check program and base sensitivity, which can be done with the program touchpad. Pass through the PDI with a detectable metal object to make certain it is operating properly. And, most importantly, respond to all alarms and always make certain you know just exactly what caused the alarm to sound and the pinpoint lights to appear. Remember, every alarm must be investigated, and the reason for each alarm be determined. It is also important that you test the unit at the beginning of each day or whenever anything has been changed in its setup. There is no finer walk-through metal detector anywhere in the world than the PDI. But, in the end, the level of security it can provide depends on the diligence of the men and women who operate it. This concludes the portion of this video presentation designed to help train operators to use the unit. We will now discuss the PDI itself and provide instructions for its assembly. This walk-through detector requires no cumbersome connector cables, special flooring, or tables for auxiliary controls. This enables the unit to be easily portable, yet it is sturdy enough to withstand all the rugged demands you may place on it. Whether these demands be for continuous use or for occasional moves between several locations, this unit will more than fulfill your needs. The PDI meets or exceeds standards established by the TSA for U.S. airports, as well as those of various foreign and domestic law enforcement bodies. The detector also meets all safety and electronic regulatory standards.
Thank you, sir.
Before we learn just how easy it is to assemble the PDI, let's talk for a minute about where you should place your unit for best results. First, of course, you must consider the flow of normal pedestrian traffic. Ask yourself just exactly where the unit will be needed to fulfill your security requirements most effectively. Then, you must make certain that sufficient space is available at that location for a pedestrian waiting line and for your operators. You may need an adjacent site for an X-ray machine. Plus, you should make some provision for the area that will be necessary for manual searching of hand-carried and pocket items. Ideally, no metal detector should ever be located near a high-powered electrical apparatus or next to large metal objects, either stationary or moving. This would include elevators, escalators, or revolving doors. In addition, always try to position your PDI in a location where it is safe from rain, mist, and condensation. Next, take a few minutes to look over the manual. We urge that you take the time, right now, to study it carefully. It and this video should answer just about any questions you might ever have. Now, let's begin to assemble your new Garrett PDI. We'll watch this man follow the simple assembly instructions enclosed with every PDI. First of all, he checks to make certain that all parts of the unit have been shipped. The initial step is to lay the two side panels parallel to each other, as this man has done. Note how the two panels are positioned with the connections facing each other at the same end of both panels. This end will be the top of your unit. Also note that these infrared modules are parallel, which is necessary for the unit to operate properly. It is also essential that neither of these modules ever be covered in any way. Next, remove the detection unit from the box and take out this piece of packing foam for use in assembly. Now lay the detection unit on the foam between the two panels as shown here. These important keys to your PDI are in an envelope fastened to the back of the detection unit. As we noted earlier, the silver key can be used by authorized personnel to enable or disable the detector's touchpads. Use either of the brass-colored keys to unlock and open the door of the detection unit. Make certain that the connections on the side panels are adjacent to the D connectors of the detection unit. Use 4 of the screws and finishing washers to connect the detection unit to the 2 side panels. Fasten them snugly, but do not tighten. You must next decide on which side of the detector you want to plug in your power cord. When you decide which side you want to use, connect a short jumper cord to the outlet on that panel. Then, plug in the 2 connectors to the panels. Just listen for this click to make certain they are securely connected. All electrical connections on the PDI are D connectors. They can be plugged in only one way. Never try to force a connection. Now, use the remaining screws and washers to attach the overhead crosspiece to the side panels and tighten all 8 screws securely. You've assembled your new Garrett PDI, and after a few simple adjustments, it will be ready to put into operation. Before standing up the unit, pull the electric plug out of the bottom of the panel on the side you have chosen for power. You can then connect it to the 10-foot power cord, which will be plugged into a power outlet. It's a good idea to get some help to stand the unit up. And, after it is erect, check for stability. If the floor proves to be uneven, you might be able to improve stability by loosening the screws slightly and gently rocking the unit before retightening the screws. Next, you'll want to plug it in, which is a very simple matter with any Garrett walk-through detector, which automatically adjusts to 110 or 220 volt power, 50 or 60 hertz. With the PDI plugged in at its operating location, let's see just what final control adjustments are necessary before it can begin helping to secure your facility. You'll want to read the complete description in your manual of the control panel, touchpads, and internal control modules. Now, turn the detector on. The ready light should be lit, and all alarm lights should be out. The walk sign on the entry side of the detector should be lit, and operate should be displayed. Or if someone has just walked through the unit, the patron count will be displayed. If this isn't the case with your PDI, review the past few minutes of this video along with your manual. A section of the manual discusses menu item adjustments. Let's go through them together right now. As we use the detector's touchpads, let me urge you not to be intimidated by them. The controls will do only what you tell them to do. And it's impossible to damage the detector or its circuitry by misusing the touchpads. User-friendly may have become a trite term, but it certainly describes all Garrett walk-through detectors. Everything you do on the PDI will be reported right here on the display. So let's make certain the silver key is in the Enable position and get started. To access the administrator mode for the first time, press the Access touchpad. Whenever it is pressed, the unit will chirp and the words Enter Passcode will appear. If no attempt is made to enter a code, the unit will continue chirping for 10 seconds and return to normal operations. If anyone enters an unauthorized or incorrect code, audio will sound a tamper alarm, and Access Denied will be displayed. Remember that if you inadvertently touch this Access touchpad, no further action should be taken, and the unit will return automatically to the Operate mode in about 10 seconds. Now, enter the factory preset administrator code of 5678. First to appear is volume. Use the plus and minus touchpads to select the sound level that is appropriate for your operators. Now press Access and Count is displayed to report the number of individuals who have passed through the PDI since the counter was reset. This is called the patron count. Press Access again and the alarm count will appear, which is the number of alarms that have occurred since the counter has been reset. Press Access now to learn the percentage of these alarms in relation to the number of individuals who have passed through the archway during this period of time. When you press Access again, the sequence count is displayed, indicating the number of times that attempts have been made to access the supervisor or administrator levels. To reset the patron, alarm, and percentage counters to 0, press Access again. When Reset Counters appears, press the plus pad. The sequence counter will not change. Press Access again and Tone appears. Use the plus and minus touchpads to select the tone that is appropriate for your operators. You are next given the option of turning off the pacing lights, the walk and halt symbols on the entrance side of the detector. Use the plus and minus touchpads to do this. Press Access now to regulate the pinpoint lights that identify the zone containing metal. The plus and minus touchpads are used to set the length of time these lights are displayed whenever metal is detected. Press Access again, and you have the opportunity to regulate the length of time and alarm sounds when metal is detected. Use the plus and minus touchpads to regulate this time. Press Access again, and you are given the opportunity of turning off the infrared sensor that eliminates audible alarms unless the archway is occupied. Use the plus or minus touchpads to turn the IR analysis on or off. With the infrared sensor on, the audio alarm will not sound and the pinpoint lights will not appear unless a person is within the archway. Press Access again and you can select language. Use the plus and minus touchpads to select the one that is appropriate for your operators. Press Access again and Receiver Balance appears, indicating the balance of the receiving antenna. Any number less than 50 is acceptable. If the number is ever higher, check around the detector for large metal objects. If the unit is next to a wall, it may be necessary to move it away slightly. Press Access again, and Synchronization is next. This setting is related to multiple operation of detectors, and the factory setting of Master should normally be used. Pressing Access again brings another selection relating to multiple unit operation. The factory set option is Channel 1. You are interested in this feature only if you use more than one detector simultaneously and in close proximity. You can find information in your manual on operating multiple units. The next option is Program, which we'll discuss in more detail in a few minutes, along with the options that relate to base sensitivity, the alarm level, and your ability to change sensitivity of the various zones. Now, though, let's give our unit a test and try to smuggle a metallic object through it. Incidentally, this is an operational test piece, or OTP as it's called, from Garrett. This OTP simulates a small gun. The pinpoint lights tell us that the weapon is probably in the man's right-hand jacket pocket, certainly in that location on his body. You'll note that the man himself is carrying no other metal. Fine, this unit will detect metal. It's time now to decide just how sensitive you want your PDI to be. You probably don't want it to alarm on every coin or keyring that passes through. Yet, you expect the detector to alert you whenever weapons, contraband, or any special metallic objects are passing through it. The Program section of the manual explains that your new detector is capable of many program and sensitivity combinations. Read carefully the pages in your manual that cover it. You can regulate the program and sensitivity settings. Several programs have been developed for use with the PDI to meet a variety of security needs. When you select the Airport's Enhanced program, for example, the unit detects guns, knives, and similar metallic weapons, but eliminates such innocuous items as keys, loose change, and cigarette packs. When you select prisons, on the other hand, the unit detects all metal objects. Read the program section of the manual carefully and select the one best suited to your installation. We'll use buildings, which is designed for general security. By pressing Access, we set this program in the detector. We also cycle to the next selection, which is base sensitivity. We'll first try this setting of 140 and test it. Oh, yes, make certain that bar graph fluctuations are minimal. And always check the ready light and the pacing lights to verify that power is on and the system is ready to go. First, let an individual with no metallic objects pass through the detector. Then, let him try to carry this OTP that simulates the smallest sort of target that you would never allow to pass. Base sensitivity was set too low to detect the object, so let's use the plus touchpad to increase it to 170 and try again. Let the individual walk through the unit again with the OTP in his trousers pocket. Note the location indicated by the pinpoint lights. Follow this same procedure with as many as possible of the type targets that you want to detect. Review how each of these targets responds and strike a balance in determining your final sensitivity setting. Tests should be conducted with metallic objects held at shoulder, waist, and ankle level. Carry the targets in different areas of the body and in different orientations. Note how the unit's pinpoint lights locate the targets precisely in one of 33 zones. Let your subject pass through the unit carrying such normal metallic objects as a keyring or wearing jewelry. Observe how they affect the PDI. If you think that all of this sounds a bit like trial and error, you're right. And that's the way walk-through detectors have always been calibrated. Finally, set your base sensitivity number at the lowest numerical setting that will detect all of your sought-after targets 4 times in a row in differing locations and orientations. Now, however, the PDI offers an alternative method that lets you determine a precise setting for any particular target. The OTP should first be passed through the unit by an individual carrying no other metal. Note the alarm reading number that appears on the LCD. This number is the base sensitivity level that will be necessary for the unit to sound an alarm when this particular target is carried at this location and orientation on the body. Now, press the plus touchpad to reset the indicator and test the target again several more times at different locations on the body and at different orientations. It is recommended that tests be made at several heights to determine if there are any deviations in the sensitivity level setting needed to detect this target. Always use the highest number required to detect the target as shown by the alarm reading. It is important to remember that you are always responsible for proper sensitivity and programming settings based on your particular target requirements. Next, we'll press Access and consider regulating zone sensitivity. The display will now indicate Zone 1 and will indicate the base sensitivity that you set and also zone enhancement sensitivity. Relative sensitivity can be varied from zone to zone depending upon your security requirements. We'll consider Zone 6 at the bottom to illustrate how you change its relative sensitivity from 63% less than your base sensitivity to 192% greater. This ability to increase or decrease the sensitivity of Zone 6 has proved quite helpful in locations where metal shoe shanks were creating a problem. Read your manual for more information on optimizing settings. Now we'll press Access again, and Relay is displayed to indicate status of the AC and DC relay circuits. N/O is also displayed, indicating that the circuits are in their normal open position. These relay contacts can be used to activate external security devices such as a VCR or an electronic door lock. The next selection concerns the security of your installation with use of the silver key. 3 settings are available: on, off, and on with key. Factory preset is with the on setting illuminated and the key lock in the enable position, allowing all touchpads to be operational. If you feel that additional security is required for your installation to protect menu settings from tampering, you can find a description of the various security options in the Operator Enable section of your manual. Now, access codes are set at the factory, but we strongly recommend that you change the codes once your detector has been adjusted. This final administrator setting gives you that opportunity. For maximum security, the new code should be made known only to those persons who will have a need for them. Here's how you change codes. The display indicates plus to alter code 1. First, press plus as the screen indicates. Next, enter your own 4-digit code. Let's use 2367. The display asks us to repeat the code, and we will. You see, it says code entered OK. We've set a new access code. Press Access again. Now we'll alter code number 2, the administrator mode, which is the one we're now in. Once again, we press the plus touchpad and enter a 4-digit code. Let's use 9876. As before, the display asks us to repeat the code. Let's try to fool it with 9877 to see what happens. Uh-oh. The display tells us that an invalid entry has been made, and we must start over by again entering the correct 9876 code and repeating this code when asked. Only when code entered OK appears can we be certain that we have set a new access code for this mode. Make certain that only authorized personnel know the codes that will permit them to change the sensitivity settings or other adjustments on the PDI. The Installation Adjustments section of your manual provides simple instructions for reestablishing the factory preset codes if your new codes should somehow ever get lost. In addition to the administrator adjustments, which we have just reviewed, a limited number of supervisor adjustments are available. Once again, consult your manual to become familiar with them. So, there you have Garrett's new PD6500i. With its 3-dimensional circuitry that precisely locates metallic targets in 33 distinct zones. There is no finer walk-through metal detector than this anywhere in the world. But in the end, the level of security it can provide depends on the diligence of the men and women who operate it. Study your manual carefully. Make certain your unit is operating properly.
Come through, please.
And investigate all alarms. Follow these simple instructions, and the Garrett PD6500i will more than fulfill all of your expectations for a walk-through metal detector.